Joining me now is Dr. Stephen Weiss, a homeopathic physician who will talk about alternative medical treatments to the flu. He is, by the way, at the Schechter Center in, of all places, Suffern, New York. Are they suffering from the flu in Suffern, Doctor?
Sure, they sure are, yes.
So if you've kind of had it with the regular doc and what he prescribes, whether it is prescription medicine or over-the-counter, what are alternatives that will actually combat the flu?
Well, I brought a few of them with me today. The first is oscillococcinum.
What is, I think it's referred to commonly as oscillo, right?
Yes, that's an easier way to pronounce it.
And what is it?
It's a homeopathic remedy that is made from the liver and heart of ducks.
Yeah.
But it's very, very dilute.
What is it in the heart and liver of ducks that is an active agent against the flu?
Well, it has to do with classical homeopathic principles. They've tested this on healthy people, found that it causes flu-like symptoms in healthy people, and that is the indication to give it to a sick person with the flu. Okay? It has been tested in double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, in 3 different studies, and found to be effective in each study against the flu. It hastened the recovery within 48 hours
But there's no real explanation other than it does.
Correct. We don't quite understand how homeopathy works. We just know that in our clinical
Maybe this would be a good time, Doctor, for everybody, including me, to get an explanation of what is homeopathic medicine.
Sure. Homeopathy is derived from the Greek word homeos, which means the same, similar, and pathy, which means disease. So actually it uses the law of similars, which is like will be cured by like. Okay? Samuel Hahnemann was a German physician in the early 1800s who was dissatisfied with the regular treatments of the time and actually quit medicine because of it. He was so disgusted with the bloodletting and the toxic treatments of the time. So he set out to find what was curative in medicines. And at the time, he tested some medicines that were effective against malaria, quinine, on himself, and he found that it created the same symptoms of malaria in him.
Well, it is, as you know, it is all the medical rage these days to take things like Relenza and other sort of flu specialty medicines. Why is a homeopathic approach better than going in for the genetic engineered medicine?
Well, first of all, they're considerably safer than the current drugs available. For example, amantadine, which has been the drug of choice for many years, can cause a number of side effects such as insomnia, nausea, lightheadedness. These particular remedies I have here are extremely safe, very well tolerated, and they're effective. You know, as I said, both of these two have a number of...
Well, one of them is black elderberry, and the other in the little bottle on the far left of the screen is echinacea.
Echinacea.
Now,
yes.
I think people know a lot about echinacea. They've heard it, but why black elderberry?
Well, that is specifically useful also against influenza. It was tested in Israel and in laboratory studies, in vitro, meaning in test tubes, found to be effective against influenza, and was then tested in humans and also found to hasten the recovery from flu. So echinacea, I don't know that it's been specifically tested against influenza, but it is very effective against viral illnesses in general. But the other two have had research done on them against influenza specifically.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Dr. Stephen Weiss some more about the flu and various medications. I'm also going to talk to our internet correspondent, Lisa Napoli. Believe it or not, you can take a virtual cure which might be as good or better than the real thing. When we come back, Lisa Napoli will explain how you can get your cure on the internet right after this. It seems like there may be no end to the expanding influence of the internet on our daily lives. Now it may even provide help to those fighting the flu. Our MSNBC internet correspondent Lisa Napoli joins us with more. So Lisa, can you go on the internet, click on your symptoms, and will some druggist send you prescription drugs from the way you self-diagnose over the internet?
No, they can't do it that way. But if you do have a prescription, you can either have your doctor fax it into one of these online drugstores. Drugstore.com has a partnership with Rite Aid. Then there's Eckerd's online. you can have them deal with it that way, or you can fax it in yourself. But no, getting someone to actually prescribe a drug to you online is not going to happen.
So does that constitute an actual shortcut to use the internet?
6 of one, half dozen of the other. You could ostensibly call up your local drugstore and have them deliver it, right? You know, if you got them your prescription, but of course you still have to get out of the house to see a doctor. You can go online and buy non-prescription drugs and have them sent to you, and many of the herbal remedies that you've just been talking about can be found dug up online. Vitaminshop.com is one of the places. But no, you still got to get out to see the doctor.
Well, Lisa, there's no place on the net where I could go, instead of going up to Suffolk, New York, and see Dr. Weiss, who would look at me and listen to me, where I could just click on a few things and say, you know, Dr. Weiss has preloaded the answers in here, and I can get a prescription. I mean, what's the difference between a cold and a flu anyway? I've got to ask him. Can I ask that on the internet?
Absolutely. You can definitely ask those questions on the internet and get all sorts of lay answers and medically based answers. At msnbc.com, we've got a list of links that you can go to, say, the CDC's site. There's Flu 101. There's flutrack.com. All over our website, we've got interactive quizzes and information to help you answer those questions. And of course, there are a lot of medical sites where you can go and ask the doctor, either write an email or have an online consult with a medical professional. But no substitute for a doctor, of course. But yeah, as far as answering questions, the internet's right.
Dr. Weiss, do you know, is the internet a good place for people to go if they want to ask about black elderberry or echinacea or acilla or any of the alternatives to the conventional wisdom with flu?
You can get some information certainly from the internet, but I think that if you're quite sick, I think you really do need to go see a physician and be properly diagnosed and not fool around.
Isn't it kind of nuts that at the moment you're weakest, you got to get in the car and drive off to see the doctor?
Yeah, that's the case.
It's a bad deal.
Yeah.
It's really ugly when you get sick. Thanks to Lisa Napoli and Dr. Stephen Weiss. If you got the flu, go see the doc, then consult with the internet, and they'll tell you how to get the drugs cheap. Be sure.